Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of Ask the Attorney Anything. I am Rebecca Zung and I'm so glad that all of you are here, and it is my honor to serve all of you. I love the fact that StreamYard allows me to go live in several places at once. So if you're tuning in from Facebook, in my Facebook group, I welcome you from there, or my Facebook page, I welcome you from there, or on my YouTube, I welcome you from there. So, and I see that I have some questions that are already starting to come in, and I'd love to know where you are all tuning in from. And, you know, I want to talk today a little bit about your words. And I've been pondering today about the words that we use and how they shape our realities. I mean, and even me, I catch myself sometimes saying, I'm trying to, or I'm hoping to, or, and when you use words like that, you're not really living into saying, this is happening and this is how it's going and this is the reality that I am creating for myself. And I even know it, but your words really do shape your reality, and just, you have the power to decide. And I don't know if you realize that the Latin root of the word decide actually is like to cut off, and you cut off any other possibilities. So I want you to ponder today the possibility of cutting off any other possibility other than that you are creating a life for yourself where you are setting yourself up to be a person who is honored and respected and valued, and setting yourself up so that nothing and no one can ever infringe on that. Now, that doesn't mean that people aren't going to be toxic. There will be toxic people that come into your life. That doesn't mean that people aren't going to be mean, people aren't going to be nasty, that bad things aren't going to happen to you, that debris isn't going to get hurled at you. And by the way, it also doesn't mean that you're not going to stumble. It also doesn't mean that your thoughts aren't going to stumble. They do. But, you can learn how to catch yourself. And so I want you to just become aware of how it all starts with your words. And it starts with the words that you say to yourself. So just for today, I want you to start thinking about the words that you're saying to yourself, like, I can never get that, or that'll never happen, or good things never come to me, or I'll never win, or the other person always gets what they want, or they always win. Because you're basically placing orders to the universe. And I know this as sure as I'm sitting here. And so I found myself this week saying things like, I'm hoping that this is how it's going to go. And I actually had to catch myself going, no, that's how it's going. This is how it's happening. Because hoping, you might as well just be like, throwing it into the wind. It's not happening. You can't just say hoping. That's like weak language. That's not happening language. You say it is going like this. This is how it's happening. And so I want you to think about the power of your words as I start looking at some of your questions and addressing some of your questions today. So, and thank you all for tuning in. Hello, Sherry from Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome. So let's see if I can answer a couple of questions here. Let's see. I'm listening. I'm still here. I'm just trying to see if I can answer a couple of quick questions for you. Somebody is saying, everything I learned was way too late. It's never too late. It is never too late. And again, watch that language. It's never too late. You're still alive. You're on this planet. You're breathing. And think about what you can be grateful for, and think about the lessons that you can be grateful for, and the things. There's always, always, always something to be grateful for. And start to pivot and think, you know what? I did learn the lesson. I learned it now. And I still have a future, and I still have a life, and there's still my now, and there's still this moment. And I can, pivot for the future, and I can make the rest of my life be better, right? So it's never too late, okay? All right. Let's see. Okay, Madeline, I don't have access to any of my husband's income at all. We've been married for over 30 years. Okay, so Madeline, you will be able to get access to that when you get going with a divorce case, because you will get access to financial information through the divorce case. So you'll be able to do that either through the mandatory financial exchange, which will happen as a matter of course, or if it doesn't happen that way, there are other ways that you can get it through, and every state has their own names for some of these things, but, sometimes they're called a request for production or a request to produce. And if you don't get it that way, you can always do subpoenas. And, I know a lot of you are out there going, they're not giving it up. They're not, providing the documentation. Of course, that happens as well. But, that's why I say subpoenas a lot of times, because then you kind of bypass the narcissist. But if it's in their possession and they're not producing it, then sometimes you have to file motions to compel, and you have to get the judge to make them give it up. So that is another way that you can do it. But when you don't have access to it, it's okay, because you will get access to it through the divorce process. Okay. Question from Virginia: can narcissists be diagnosed? So, the DSM-5, I'm not a psychologist, but I do know that the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, which is what psychologists and psychiatrists use to diagnose narcissists, is something that they use to, it is a legitimate personality disorder. But, I from what I understand, it's a spectrum. And so even if they don't fall all the way to the point of being, having the disorder, they can have certainly narcissistic traits, narcissistic tendencies. And, most narcissists, because they don't have self-awareness, because they don't want to, land in a place where they're going to be exposed, which would be a psychologist's chair or a psychiatrist's chair. They don't put themselves in a position of actually being, diagnosed, where they're going to be actually looked at and quizzed and questioned and poked and prodded and all that sort of thing. So, most of them are not actually diagnosed. So, the answer is they can be diagnosed. Most of them are not, from what I understand. Let's see. Somebody is asking, Brittany is asking, can they get better? So, I've had psychologists and psychiatrists that I have interviewed, And, you know, my understanding is that they potentially could get better. But again, you know, they'd have to really, really want to, and they'd have to be ready to swallow some pills of humble humility, and be willing to shine the light on themselves, and be willing to take a look at what it is that caused their issues in the first place. And, you know, I have met some people who have said to me, oh, I was a narcissist and I did get better. But, you know, I think it's pretty rare because, again, you know, they'd have to go and seek that help. And I don't think most narcissists do. So for those of you who are dealing with them, for those of you who are in these abusive relationships, I say to you, don't sit around waiting for that to happen. That's not the answer for you. I mean, that's not where you want to be at. You know, I think that, you know, creating a plan to go create a new life that is toxic free is probably a much better plan, and one that allows you to have the control in your hands, because otherwise you're waiting for someone else to do something and you're not taking the power into your hands. The only person you have control over is yourself, no one else. You know, the other person, they might get help at some point, but they more than likely will not, and you cannot control that. Okay. All right. Let's see. What do you do when you see these tendencies in your children? I mean, if you have, you know, children do kind of tend to be narcissistic, and that's not necessarily abnormal, because, you know, 2-year-olds are 2-year-olds, right? I mean, it depends on the age of the child that you're talking about here, and teenagers tend to be a little bit egotistical and, you know, self-centered as well, of course. But, you know, if you think that there's an issue with your children, you can always send them to, you know, maybe some kind of a therapist as well. I mean, you have a little more control over your children, a lot more control than you do over an adult, who you can't make go to a therapist, of course, right? So, okay. So, can you ask for health insurance in a divorce if you're on life-saving medical equipment? No time to get disability, and abuses just as much. So that's key lime kisses. That's really a legal question. I don't want to answer, you know, questions that may fall under the ambit of your particular state law or their country's law. But in general, what I do tell people, at least, you know, when I was practicing full time, is you're better served, rather than asking for health insurance specifically, to maybe, if you have a claim for support, you might want to find out how much the health insurance premium is going to be, and then ask for that amount in support, rather than ask for the insurance, only because you don't want that person to be in charge of paying the insurance. And then if they don't pay it, you know, now you're like stuck because you don't have the insurance, and, you know, you just don't want them to have control over that piece of it. You know, I think you'd rather actually pay it, and then, you know that it's actually paid, right? So, I just think that makes more sense that way. Okay, so let's see. I can't get my attorneys to understand the meaning of narcissism. So I do have in my SLAY program, which, by the way, if you want to come to my free webinar, you can go to RebeccaZung.com /webinar. And let me see if I have that up here. If you go to RebeccaZung.com/webinar, I'll just put it up here. You can come to my free webinar, and I will, you know, answer more questions for you there, and talk more to you about the whole thing with the SLAY program, which is strategy, leverage, anticipating, and focus on you. But also in my SLAY program, I do have like a whole 5-page packet that I created that you can give your attorney, which explains all about narcissism, that I wrote basically from an attorney to an attorney so that they can understand what it is that they're dealing with, because a lot of attorneys make a lot of mistakes when it comes to dealing with narcissists. They think that they should, like, for example, be writing settlement letters back and forth. And that is just like a way of basically giving the narcissist a way to jerk you around and just, you know, waste everybody's money and waste everybody's time. And because they are never going to settle like that. That's, you know, for example, that's a huge mistake that attorneys make sometimes. You know, so I do have that. If you want to come to my free webinar, I do have much more on that there as well. So let's see. Let's see if I can grab maybe one more question while you guys are here. Let's see. Speaking to, where did that question just go? What if you work with them? I do actually, Pam. I have a whole program on narcissism in business. It's called Slay Your Negotiation with a Narcissist in Business. If you go to slayforbiz.com, there's more on that there. Let's see. Susan, is this all about divorcing a narc? So I talk about negotiating with narcissists in general, Susan. So it could be, a lot of my audience is divorcing, but I do have a whole program on dealing with narcissists and negotiating in business as well. And just, you know, really, I wrote a whole book on negotiation, and really negotiation is my focus. Linda, attorneys usually roll their eyes when you mention narcissists. Yeah, so that's why I created the whole packet to give to your attorney so that they understand what it is that they are dealing with. So, because I get it. I understand what you're saying, Linda Marie. So, all right. Love you guys. I am so glad that you all were here and joining me today. And as always, I send all of you light and support. And of course, you can get my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. And you can join me on my free webinar there if you'd like. And subscribe to this channel if you'd like, and join my free Facebook group if you'd like. Try to have a lot of free things for all of you. That's why I have so many free YouTube videos as well, so that you guys have access to so much free information. I'm Rebecca Zung, and remember that it's really, there's always something that you can do. And as I started off with at the beginning of this video, just watch your words, the power of your words. Think about what it is that you're saying. There's always a way, and just remember to just shape your thoughts and shape your future by using words that are powerful. Okay? So thank you all so much, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much.